Bonjour à toutes et tous, vous écoutez First Print, votre podcast comics préféré pour une nouvelle émission du format SuperFriends, l'émission qui va à la rencontre des personnes qui font vivre la pop culture et la culture comics par leur travail. Et nous avons le plaisir de recevoir une nouvelle fois dans ce podcast Ramvé et Evan Cagle, qui sont de retour en France. Alors, Evan vit en France, mais Ramvé nous fait le plaisir de retourner dans notre beau pays à l'occasion de la sortie de l'album New Gods chez Urban Comics, la réinterprétation et l'inclusion de cet univers dans la continuité d'ici All In, donc chez Urban. Donc on va pouvoir vous parler de tout ça, comment on reprend cet univers mythique créé par le grand Jack Kirby et comment on en propose une nouvelle histoire. Donc le générique va se lancer évidemment. Après, nous serons en anglais pour discuter avec nos deux artistes et auteurs préférés. So this is why my introduction in French that you did not understand at all, but
Not at all.
Yeah, so I'm really, really glad to have you back.
I only picked up the words generic Jack Kirby in there.
Not generic.
Those are the only two words I picked up.
Oh yeah, also generic, yeah, because there's a music I add post-production, you know, it's very, very professional business, you know.
Right,
But
okay.
you couldn't hear it right now. So how have you been doing since the last time we spoke, Evan?
Oh, pretty good. Just busy. That monthly New Gods schedule is no joke.
Yeah, I would say the same. Just busy, doing stuff, making comics, making stuff outside of comics. Kind of trying not to be busy. Oh yeah, I had a child in the meanwhile as well.
Don't
so
forget.
busy with child stuff as well, and then we're building a house. So busy with building house stuff as well.
So that's quite different from doing comics, I guess.
Yes.
So we're here to speak about the first volume of New Gods that just came out in France. So my first question is quite basic. How did you meet the whole Fourth World universe? Were you a big fan when you were kids, or was it just something that you happened to discover later? I'm starting with you, Ram.
Yeah, I discovered it because I read in an interview somewhere that Alan Moore had really started working in comics or kind of gotten excited about American comics after reading Jack Kirby's work. And I said, wow, I really like Alan Moore. I should read and find out why he got excited. And I read pretty much the entire Fourth World omnibus at that point in time. And I could immediately see why it would be like crack for a writer, because every few pages is 100 different ideas that you could take any one of those and turn them into a story on its own. And yeah, so my first reading of Jack Kirby genuinely felt that way. And I wasn't a huge fan when I was a kid or anything, but I could totally see why it was one of the sort of foundational pillars of American superhero comics.
I would even say that maybe if I'm not saying it wrong, that you grew up in India. So I don't know if there was even Fourth World comics in India for you to grow up with.
No, there weren't. But I can see all the sort of cross-cultural influences, right? Like I can see the commonalities between the Flash Gordon comic that I was reading and the same sort of blonde motorcycle riding Orion that you have in the Fourth World. So there were commonalities, but no, I had zero access to anything Kirby had done when I was growing up in India.
Okay, switching to you, Evan. So I read in an interview you already did that you had a box of Jack Kirby stuff when you were young, but it was none of the stuff that Jack Kirby is famous for.
Yeah, nothing applicable to doing New Gods at all. It was all shorts and little one shots and things like that. But I was familiar with his work, just not his. Not the corpus that everybody sort of calls on when they say Jack Kirby.
So when did you discover the whole stuff?
When did I discover
the whole Fourth World stuff?
Not until I was about to do it.
Okay, so it was brand new for you.
Brand new, yeah. I mean, I was aware of some of the characters, but I hadn't read a stitch of the actual comic. So yeah, I did like a little Kirby crash course.
Also, on the note of seeing things that Kirby had done that weren't his famous comics work, I was visiting a friend's office, and he's a huge collector of toys and stuff. He had a collection of Japanese toys that were purchased and reissued by an American company
Based on Jack Kirby?
No, just completely different IP, who then went to Jack Kirby and had him do all the box illustrations for these toys. So there are toy boxes that are with obscure toys but have Jack Kirby illustrations all over them.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's actually really cool.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
So, at what point did you want to do a Fourth World and You Got comic book? Because I also read in that interview that it was a project that you had like a few years ago.
Yeah.
So it was quite a long gestation for this project.
Yes and no, in that I was working on Detective Comics at the time, and my editor said, what do you want to do after Detective Comics? And I was in a place where I had really gotten into comics off of wanting to do stuff like that sort of late 80s Vertigo writers did, where they went and took obscure characters and reinvented them. And that had always been an aim, and it felt like after finishing Detective was the right time to, because there's two ways you can go, right? If you are a person who likes to decide what they do in their career,
Because it's not always the case.
You either
just to ask you like what do you want to do. Sometimes they just go, so you can do this or that. But
well, that's never been the case with me because I would just say no to doing things that.
So you have the power to say no.
Yes.
Never underestimate the power of saying no.
I'm saying no, but no, I was very lucky to be in that position. But also, generally, what people would have done is gone, oh, I did Detective. Now I'm going to go to a bigger book, even more popular book, bigger character. Let me write the Batman book. I did the opposite. I said, let me take characters that don't have books and let me launch those, because going from 0 to thousands of people reading a book is just as impressive as going from whatever Detective Comics were selling to whatever Batman sells, right? So yeah, it was during that time. And I also remember going, I want to do something that has a large cast of characters.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the personal challenges I wanted, was how do I deal with a huge cast of characters with multiple things happening in different corners of the universe. And really, it made sense to use the Fourth World, because it was pretty much an entire universe of characters that were not being used by anything DC was doing outside of the occasional, like, oh no, everyone be afraid, Darkseid is here. Which, even Darkseid, I think DC editorial had gotten tired of him being the villain every time. And so they'd just been like, maybe not Darkseid now. So, yeah.
And so you had to construct a new story with these characters. Was it something that you wanted to fit into the main continuity of DC, or were you aiming at the beginning at maybe something like a Black Label project like you did for Aquaman, for example?
Well, I wanted to do something that was in the continuity of what was happening in the DCU, partly because I think that's the reason the Fourth World stuff has always felt like it sits in its own corner, is because no one's actually ever tried to include it into the continuity of stuff that's happening, and it felt right to do that. But also, I can see the challenge in trying to contend with gods and human beings and superheroes in the same narrative, if that makes sense.
So at what point did you came with Evan on the project? Because if you were not a fan, or even if you did not know a lot about the Fourth World, I guess it's not you that it came onto.
It's gonna be funny.
No, we were almost done with Dawn Runner.
Yeah.
I think, and
We were finishing up. I think we were working on the last two.
yeah, and Rom was sort of dropping these little, he always does this. He drops these little breadcrumbs of, oh, I've got this thing that I'm thinking about and it's going to be really cool. And usually the buildup is over a couple of months before I get like an actual pitch, before he actually says like, this is the thing that I'm going to do. And it was this way with New Gods. And he was sort of, oh, I've got this idea, this thing to do with New Gods. And I had no knowledge of New Gods. And so maybe I was just slow on the uptake. I didn't get that he was like offering it to me, because often we will talk about things that he doesn't offer to me. Like, I
mean, I wasn't really offering it.
No.
I
but
just,
you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes
we were spitballing. Yeah.
Like we talked about Layla Starr, we talked about Blue and Green.
Yeah.
Neither of which book I worked on, but just in our talks, we will talk about these things.
Yeah. And
I assumed as much about New Gods as well, that it was going to be something that someone else would do. And he was eventually like, no, I think you should do it. And I was like, no, that's a terrible idea. Like, I don't know anything about Jack Kirby or the New Gods or any of this stuff. And I've never done a monthly book.
Yeah.
The schedule seems frankly inhuman. And yeah, after the leisurely pace at which we put together Dawn Runner, the idea of turning around and doing a monthly book was like, oh man, that sounds horrible. But then,
but you did accept.
I did. Yeah, I did.
So why is that?
I think because eventually he wore me down to some degree, but also because I think he was able to frame the New Gods in a way that made them interesting to me.
I think the phrase you're looking for is powers of persuasion.
Yes, you hypnotized me.
I was thinking maybe torture also.
There were threats, crying involved. No, I think until look, Dawn Runner was an easy sell. Mechs are things that I'm into. The futurism is something that I'm into. Sci-fi. That's not a hard sell, but New Gods was a hard sell for me. And because I couldn't see why me instead of a dozen other artists.
Well, so we could argue that New Gods is also a very hard science fiction and fantasy blended together, that it could fit.
Well, this is sort of the route I think that Ram took. And, you know, I'm interested in esoteric things and mythologies and things like that as well. And I think I had never had the New Gods explained to me as a proper marriage of those two interests, of the sci-fi with mythology, even though plainly that's what New Gods is, right? But because I wasn't familiar with it, I just saw big crazy Kirby costumes and no idea what was going on. But yeah, once I could see why I might be a good fit for it, then it became something that I was really interested in doing.
So did you go back to the roots and read the whole Fourth World Omnibus in 2 days?
Not in 2 days, but yeah. And Ram had some specific reading, specific issues that were going to be pertinent. And it was just sort of familiarizing myself with the madness of Kirby land.
And is it something that you would call like easy to just reappropriate a character that you did not create like that? But it's not just characters; it's also like Jack Kirby's character. So I mean, I guess it's something else when in the artist and in the comics field.
I wasn't sure if it was just. I wasn't sure if I was being reckless by not caring. But
if I may interject, like that is the reason why I said, Evan, you should be doing New Gods.
So I would be reckless about it
because I knew you were not going to be precious about it, right?
Well, what I discovered later from actually in another interview that we were giving just before the book launched was that Kirby had intended to create this entire roster of characters specifically for other people to step in and to run with them and to do things with them that he didn't intend. And so in a sense it felt less like I was being a naughty child and going after someone else's property, and more like I was actually doing what I was meant to be doing according to Kirby's own plan, which was taking these ideas, running with them, changing them however we wanted, and
it all belongs to the DC overlords anyway.
It all belongs to DC overlords anyway. That's true. But as far as, Kirby's memory and sort of suspending his fourth world in aspic so that it, lives on in precisely the same way that he envisioned it. I think the way that he envisioned it was that it would not do that.
I would be surprised if any real interesting storyteller looked at their own stories that way, as things to be edified and preserved in amber over decades, so they will never change and therefore never be retold, because retelling is changing, retelling is reinventing.
So I'm just going to wait till you finish your ham, your slice of ham. This is okay. This is the best interview. No, it's okay.
Note to self: edit this out of the podcast.
I'm just not gonna edit this. This is part of the podcast. The sincerity of it. Like so, Ram and Evan are currently eating cheese and ham while doing the interviews. Just so you know.
This is tradition when you're in Paris.
Is it really? I don't remember doing this with the last interview we did, guys. No, so maybe I'll edit out. I don't know. I let the audience decide what they want to hear.
Leave it in. It's audio verite.
No, but like you said, there's a plenty of characters that you can use. So there's the obvious choices, but also some that are less obvious. How did you choose the character that you wanted to use for your story?
Honestly, they were all fair game, and I intend to use all of them.
All 2,000 of them.
Yeah, exactly. Complete random, appears for 2 panels on a page and then never shows up in the whole omnibus again.
There are a lot of those.
Still featuring in this run. Mm-hmm. No, I don't think there was any plan in that sense, but I knew where the starting point was. And I think the relationship between Scott and Orion seemed like a good starting point from where the story should begin, because I knew as soon as I read that chemistry is something I can get people to care about. And so it starts from there, and then everyone around Scott and Orion, and then everyone who made Scott and Orion the way they are. And then the larger cast of characters kind of writes itself in, partly because they're characters I've liked when I've read the Kirby Omnibus, or characters we made up in that sense.
So I guess you just said to Evan, look, so this is the ones I'm going to use now. Just do character designs, just reinvent them, because
not all of them.
Yeah, some of them are classic Kirby.
Yeah, some of them are just straight Kirby designs. For Barda and Miracle, those are probably the 2 biggest, have almost no redesign to them. Any sort of redesign at that point is just stylistic. It's me drawing them as opposed to Walt Simonson or Jack Kirby. And then I think we sort of winged it on everybody else. It was like, does this design look good? Does it look like something that fits in this world? Orion was the first big one that I went after, and it's so funny. I look at that the very first one that I did, and he looks so scrawny. He just looks. He looks like a guy with a big helmet.
He's gotten progressively beefier as the series has gone on.
Well, and your thing was like, no, bigger, make him bigger. He has to be bigger, make him bigger. And I didn't, because it was so early on in the process. Like, I didn't sort of see how he fit in, sort of in the lineup. If you have, like a police lineup of all of the new gods, I didn't sort of understand what his silhouette would be amongst the others. And so once it was once it was like, oh no, he's the refrigerator of the entire group, then I was on board, and I was like, oh, now I see what he is. Like he's a refrigerator with a helmet and legs.
Somebody recently asked me, how do you come up with the voice? And I'm like, well, I genuinely just hear them talking in my head. They were like, well, who do you hear when you're thinking of Orion? And I went, Vladimir Kulich from 13th Warrior, of course. The refrigerator Viking.
And so I was really amazed by the first pages we saw when the book was announced, especially with one of the drawing of New Genesis, of your take on New Genesis. How long did it take to make that?
I think I spent a really far too long on that first issue. I think because we had the time. Yeah, I think there were supposed to be 6 weeks per issue, and I think I went into like 8 weeks to do that first issue.
And then issue 2 was the first time you realized what happens when you do that.
Well, because we also had a tour during issue 2's making, so that made it extra difficult. But a
tour that will live on in memory.
But no, it was worth it because I think I had to find my feet on New Gods and had to figure out. I mean, you can sort of plan a look and you can put together, I don't know, people do this, like you can put together a mood board of sort of inspirational pieces and things that are going to influence the way that the comic will look. But all of that goes out the window as soon as you do one page, in a sense. Like,
planning is not doing.
Planning is not doing. And yeah, it's the map is not the territory. And so looking at a script and imagining the things that might go there as opposed to, sitting down and drawing what actually goes there, a lot of the planning flies out the window. And so taking that extra time on issue 1 and really figuring out sort of the language that we were going to use to introduce people to the fourth world was key. Super important.
So you were already you two working together before, especially on Dawn Runner. But I guess there was maybe maybe more discussion with the editor for that project at DC Comics, or is it something that's really like similar to when you're working on your creator own project?
I mean, from my perspective, part of the reason I keep annoying DC about letting me work with people that I collaborate with is so that, and I think rightly so, that a lot of the work happens between the collaborators rather than via editorial. I think because, for better or for worse, currently comics editorial is about organizing way more than it is about creative editorial. And I wish it was the case where editors were well and truly involved in the creative process of the day-to-day making of the pages, writing of the script, but it just doesn't pan out that way. And then having a voice that isn't involved in the day-to-day then come in and say, this is what you guys should do, kind of feels off. So I think it's very important for me to work with people where I feel like there is a relationship and there's a collaborative chemistry there that shows on the page. More important in a case where I know that editorial is going to be looking at organizing and making sure this gets out on time, more than they are about what's in the panel, what's happening here, who's saying what,
So my question will be very into the technicals of the making of the comics, because you said you took too much time for issue 1, and that had repercussions for the next issues. And we noticed that there were several guest artists on the issues, but it was something that was planned from the beginning.
Yeah,
but maybe not that planned in the beginning.
This was part of the pitch, because when I was so resistant to it, my big thing was like, I just don't have time I cannot go fast enough to do a monthly comic. And Rom cleverly came up with the idea of cutting down the number of total pages that I would be doing by having guest artists each issue. Every third issue they take over, and I do sort of the intro 3 or 4 pages, and then we switch back. And it was a way of mitigating my schedule so that I wasn't killing myself, and the added benefit of having some really, really great art sit alongside mine in stories that sat alongside my through line, if that makes sense. Like they're adjunct stories. Some are flashbacks, some of them are mythology, but it all serves to sort of build out the world. It makes the world feel full, I think. My take.
So you don't have to read the scripts or see the pages of those guest artists to just get back on board for your pages.
I mean, it's not like their scripts are delivered in a void. I mean, I see what they'll be doing, but no, because it's not.
Oh yeah, Evan sees all of the scripts.
Yeah, because it's not strict continuity from page to page. Yeah, I don't have to worry about picking up exactly where someone else left off or anything.
But it has happened.
It has happened. Yeah.
Yeah, where you've had to the other artist hasn't drawn this yet, or the other artist has gone, well, Evan hasn't drawn this yet, and I have to.
Yeah.
It's all right.
But you just roll with it.
It's comics, guys. Just make stuff up.
Yeah. Yeah, you just roll with it.
And you included, I think it's issue 5 or 6 that there's a Superman also that's coming up because we are set in the DCU continuity.
Yeah. Oh, right, because the first book ends at issue 6, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not up to date. I'm really sorry right now, but
I can show you later.
Yeah, but I wanted to ask also if it felt something special for you to draw a character like Superman, or if you're also being how did you say, not too fancy about it? If it's just like, well, it's just Superman.
I thought I didn't care, really, because I don't care particularly about Superman. I'm not a super fan. That's not my jam. But
I will say though that you had a take.
I had a take, yeah. But I think emotionally for me, it wasn't like, oh, finally I get to draw Superman. I mean, it wasn't that way with my detective covers either. I wasn't like, oh, I get to finally draw Batman. And yet, in doing it, there's a little part of me that sort of, the 6-year-old me is like, woohoo, I get to draw Superman. It turned into a more emotional thing than I expected. I had a better connection with him than I thought I would.
How did you manage the balance between the sections from Evan's drawings, between the more, like we said, mythological short stories or flashbacks? Was it something that really you could maybe intervert between issues, or was it really a plan from the beginning? And also, how did you choose the guest artists? Because you got to get some that you already worked with, like Philippe, for example.
Yeah.
But there's also Andrew MacLean.
Yeah.
You got Andrew MacLean on a DC book, which is
Jesse Lonergan's
and Jesse,
Jorge Fornes. I think the selection of the artists was.
How did you do? How can you get such an amazing array of artists all on the same book?
How does he ever?
By calling them every day until
don't tell me you just send an email and ask give me some magic, with
the power of persuasion.
I called them on the night of the full moon, and I say, I will curse your family for years and years to come unless you write and draw these 4 pages for my comic. No, these are all people that...
It's not far from the truth, I'm sure.
No, these are all people that I thought, when I looked at their work, that they were where they are now because at some point they saw Kirby and loved that work. And I didn't know this about all the artists before I approached them. I just assumed that was the case from looking at their art. And so it was really heartwarming to reach out to Jesse Lonergan and go, and then have Jesse go, I'm a huge Kirby fan. Obviously, you can see them in my work. Yeah. Same thing with Andrew McLean. You know, reached out to him, I think via Instagram, to tell him, hey, I'm asking my editors to reach out to you. And he's like, man, I can't tell you how excited I am to be able to draw Kirby.
Yeah, it's great.
And so, yeah, I think for me, it was just the joy of going like, you know, Kirby was one of those artists. You can see comic book artists that started drawing comics after they read Mignola's Hellboy. Some of them look exactly like Mignola, and some of them have kind of found their own voice. And imagine another, 5-10 years down the line, you'll start seeing people who have Mignola in their veins, but it's not the same. And that's what we wanted for those guest sequences. So it was easy to select artists from that perspective. In terms of how did I balance it? I actually really like non sequitur storytelling, in that there are things that the flashback doesn't immediately relate to what's happening in the story, but you take enough from the flashback to where, because you know the flashback, the way you are invested in the current story changes. For instance, because you know Light Ray has been obsessed with this idea of what happens when a god dies. When he does die, it hits differently. Spoilers. But
oh God,
I said it after too. Like, terrible.
They haven't read it yet, wrong.
No, but so it was easy to balance the story from that perspective. The challenge more was, how am I going to tell what I need to tell when I know that I only have 16 pages of Evan, because that kind of curtails how much story I can tell that is happening in the here and now. But then I think the story is richer because it feels like this story has been happening since the very beginning rather than is happening now. And I think that is invaluable. So yeah, you make some. It's always a trade-off. You're sacrificing something to be able to do something else. So you better do that something else really well.
And was it something that DC might be, I'd say, afraid of? Because when you're selling a book with Evan Cagle, and then you've got Jesse or Andrew, which are very, very good artists. I don't say the opposite, but that are a very different style in terms of just drawings. And were they afraid that if you have two different artists on the same book, that the readers might be a little bit
I never got that impression.
No, I mean, I don't think DC were afraid of that. I know that is
I know that afraid is a strong word, but
sure. No, I think that sentiment exists, but it exists, and you can't make all of your choices based off of like, what will people do when I sell this to them? Because
I think also once you see it in action over 3-4 issues,
you're getting used to it.
Yeah, you intuit.
Yeah, but also like
look,
I would say I would be more concerned about it if the choice was made from a place of like, oh, I just need somebody to fill in 4 pages.
Sure.
The choice came from a creative place.
Yeah.
And so it is a choice made with intent. If you don't like that intent, too bad. But at least it's there for a reason.
Mm.
And it's not something that we decided based on like, will people buy this if we do this?
Sure.
So I think if you approach whatever choices you make from a place that isn't cynical in that sense, then, the consequences don't really matter, because
that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, because, we did what we set out to do with this book, and enough people bought it to where, it's a loved and celebrated series. I'm sure there are people who are disappointed to not see more pages from Evan, but I think there are equal number of people who must have bought issue 2 just because Jesse Lonergan was doing the opening pages.
Yeah.
So you never know. You can't. I mean, I'm sure somebody's sitting somewhere in an office looking at numbers, but it's not me.
Nor should it be.
No, yeah, I guess you can see it as a bonus instead as a fill-in or something that you're missing out. It's not.
Yeah,
it's just something that's more.
I don't think we
of
ever
the-
looked at them as fill-in artists because that's not the
and that's not
intent.
what I would
Yeah.
call it. Also, because like you said, it's not like it's not pages that Evan should have done and
Right.
didn't do. It's like something that you worked especially for these other artists.
Yeah, like I have a related story to tell from the Michael Mann interview about him making Heat, where the interviewer is like, "Oh, you made some really interesting choices with using a handheld camera that really makes you feel like you're there and you're part of the action. What was your motivation behind doing this?" And he goes, "Yeah, we had 30 days of filming time, and I felt like moving a rig around would have made it impossible. So I just put a camera on my DOP's shoulder and said, let's go." Sometimes choices are made
Out of constraints.
out of constraints, but they end up doing interesting creative things. And yeah, hindsight is always 20/20, but also boring.
So, what's your take on the monthly single issues? Is it something that you liked in the end, or is it something that you don't like that much?
For context, I'm sitting here laughing quietly.
And he's not willing to answer. Also,
It's hard. It's hard on your life, but I don't know that it's. I don't know that it's a deal breaker.
because I think you knew what you were getting into.
Sort of. I mean,
No, not that much.
in as much as I can, guess and predict. I mean, I think the one thing that I would say is that I had to make stylistic concessions that I knew I was going to have to make to simplify, to make things easier for myself, make my schedule livable. And I think that I was able to do those things without throwing away anything integral.
I like what you said on the David Harper interview. You made the right deals with the right devils.
Right. Yeah.
But because when, for example, there's some like battle scenes. There's some battle scenes when the war starts on New Genesis and Apocalypse. So, like, were you cursing at Ram when you got the script and it tells you, okay, so this is going to be a full battle page with lots of
No.
Yeah,
The reason I collaborate with people like Evan and Anand is because on some level they're masochists. And so when I say battle scene, I tell Evan, like, really, you could choose an angle where you could just put the vast majority of this behind a fog of war. And Evan listens to me and says, uh-huh. And then goes ahead and draws everyone in excruciating detail.
But do you remember when you first gave me that script, and it was the first issue that I wasn't the first issue that I was doing the intro story to, not the majority, not the bulk of the issue, right? So that was the battle on Apocalypse. And what I said at the time was, because I was only going to do 3 pages at the beginning, I wanted to do them scratchboard.
Yeah.
You were like, please
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Because I was thinking, like, oh, this is great. I have an entire month to do 3 pages. Like, no problem. I'll just really kick it out of the park. And Ron was like, please don't do that. Don't, because just stick to the style.
Yeah, because that's never how. And even if you're saying to yourself that you've got the time, you never get the time.
Of course.
Also because I know Evan, and if he did that on those pages, every time we got to similar pages in later issues where he wasn't able to do that,
that's the problem.
He would just be like, "Oh man, if I had done this on scratchboard, it would have looked like those pages." I was like, "Don't do that."
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that's the problem with, like, doing a really, really fantastic panel and blowing a day on it. It's like, oh man, okay, how's it going to sit with the other panels?
Yeah, but I to also take a positive angle to it. I don't know if you see it, but I can definitely see you approaching pages in a slightly different way, at least in terms of like your confidence with what you want to do in each of these panels. And I think that is something you will carry forward regardless of whether you have the time constraint or not now. Just in terms of storytelling, like I think your brain develops a shorthand that it may not if you don't have the sort of time pressure to work under.
Look, also this is sort of a sophomore project, right? I mean, Dawn Runner was the first thing that I had done of that scale, and so I think maybe some of this is just me finding my legs and
I mean,
whittling my overall style down into something that actually is a workable. I don't even think maybe the monthly grind is no big deal.
I mean, I don't even think it's a question of whittling down. I just think that I'm seeing you make faster choices with pages, and I don't necessarily think they're a struggle. I don't think you're making choices because you're going, okay, I'm going to compromise on this. No, I just think you're making faster choices, partly because you've worked on Dawn Runner before and you've had to, but also needing to make choices under time pressure means you develop instincts.
You make smarter choices. Yeah. By necessity, you have to. Yeah.
And if we then say went back to doing a series that didn't involve time pressure, and that say you had a whole year to work on a huge and cool project,
dare to dream.
If you were then doing something like that, I still think knowing what choices you can make is super valuable.
I think if you came to me and said, let's remake Dawn Runner.
Yeah.
Like, let's take next year and remake Dawn Runner. I think we would get it done in like 9 months.
Yeah.
Like, I think we've gotten better in our communication, and I've gotten better in my ability to essentialize, rather than flailing about and drawing every single grain of sand.
Yeah.
Now I think I have a better grasp of what grains of sand need to be there.
Yeah.
It's really great just to see how you seem to know about the evolution of your work, of your way of working.
I can see it.
I
can see it.
And so you can put words on it, and it's just amazing just to have. I'm just asking this question, and then 10 minutes, you guys just talk, the two of you, and rebound each other. No, but it's perfect. It's really how I like to get these discussions with you.
Just invite Arno to our WhatsApp calls.
I could just record your WhatsApp calls and make podcasts out of them. And
Arno famously doesn't use WhatsApp though.
What? I do. You just don't text me. That's
no. That's what he said. That's what he said when he didn't know we were going to invite him on the WhatsApp calls.
I'm trying to get to be focused, more focused, and just focus. No, I was also like, it might be a silly question, but isn't it frustrating? Because to see your work on very small single issues pages, and I'm still thinking about the whole new Genesis panel from issue 1. I guess the real drawing is way bigger than what we got to actually see printed.
I think I can only imagine that it's the same for mangaka. Like that on some level, this is going to be shrunk down to postage stamp size. So you can't cry about it too much. I mean, the reduction helps with detail, makes it look even thicker, even fuller.
But isn't it something that you'd ask DC to do, like oversized?
I don't even look at the work after it's printed.
What?
Like,
say what? Say that again.
I don't read my
never even
comics.
seen an issue.
I don't read.
You don't have to read it. You just have to see the Like
I get
we don't read them. We just look at the pictures and that's it.
I will see myself out now. Thank you.
This is why you're so popular, Rob.
No, I genuinely cannot bring myself to look at printed single issues Forget that. I don't even read the collected editions for a while, just because I seem to have this kind of
I do a quality pass and then
violent disinterest in a project once it is off the desk, and not just off my desk.
You're just here to write.
No, not off my desk. Once we have finished with the collaborative project and have sent it off as a PDF, what happens to it after it's gone to the printer? Like,
you don't care.
Like, on some level, my brain is just like...
See, this is where you and I part, because like the printer, we've only just begun.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
When it gets to the printer, then I'm like, okay, time to take off the artist hat and to put the design hat on. And like,
yeah,
no, I care deeply about how it presents. But like you, like once it's out, like...
But how it presents is still it's still on your
radioactive
desk, no?
on the shelf. Like when I see Dawn Runner in a comic shop, like I have to stay like 10 feet away.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't mean the design part of it. Yeah. I mean like when it's off my off the desk, meaning there is nothing more you or I can do to how that book is going to look.
Yeah.
Once that's done, so I never have this reaction of like, oh, I've seen it on a smaller page. For me, it was the most beautiful when it showed up in my inbox and I saw it on a giant screen that I have in my room, and I could zoom into all the little bits and pieces and notice where Evan put Orion's eyes in the shadows where most people don't. You know, it's stuff like that. And I also feel oddly narcissistic looking at my own work afterwards, and to a point where I have collaborators. Like Aditya will come back and say, hey, I want to do another lettering pass before this goes into trade, because I was looking at it and I found all of these things that I want to change. And I'm just like, yeah, good for you. I'm not looking at that thing.
So you also created a new characters for this book from India. Yeah. And it seems to be like a trend for you to...
They're not really from India.
No. Okay, so my bad.
Which characters are you talking about? Kamal, the little surely. Kid. Yeah, okay. Yeah. He's from India, you could say. Yeah. He's also just like from before the world existed.
Yeah, it's also like a new god, also a super good. But it's something you did with the Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
It's not from India per se, but in Detective Comics, there's also with an Oriental background. So is it something that really matters to you to have these characters with those backgrounds to appear in those very mainstream and American books?
Yeah, I mean, I think more than some sort of attach some sort of value to it appearing in American books, I just find it very silly that the most popular storytelling mediums we have, or the most popular stories we have, are not reflective of the truth of our world. And on one level, we have fiction about a guy who wears a blue suit and a red cape and flies around in the sky. Surely you don't need to fictionalize the everyday people who are on the ground, in which case, like, why aren't there brown people, black people, white people, all kinds of people on the street? And if you really look at the vast majority of comics that were being published when I started out and that continue to be published today, it's this kind of weirdly artificially sanitized society we see there. So at least my endeavor has always been, surely the gods are reflective of all the gods. Surely the gods don't go like, yeah, those gods from India, they don't show up in our comic, you know? Yeah. It comes out of a need to reflect on what the world really is, and maybe in the process shake some people out of their sort of weird microcosm of like, no, my comic books still look like they're American suburbs from the 80s, you know? Yeah.
What was the part that you prefer drawing?
Sorry, what
was the part that you prefer drawing in this book, if you have
that one panel in India with all the advertising hoardings?
Man, that was a bitch. That took a long time.
I know it did. That's why I brought it up.
I do enjoy environments.
Can I say what's my favorite part of you drawing?
Sure.
It's Metron.
Oh, I love Metron. Yeah, I love drawing Metron.
Yeah. I think Evan's Metron is the embodiment of what I think Metron should be. He walks suspiciously. he cranes his head suspiciously. He smiles suspiciously.
He's
Everything
just weird,
about him
big
is
weirdo with a
suspicious.
chair.
He is a weirdo. He's one that like kind of snuck up on me. Like I was expecting. I don't know. I was expecting to dislike drawing him or anything like that. I don't dislike drawing any of them, but yeah, something about the first page that I drew him in was just really suggestive to my brain. And so every time that I've drawn him since then, it's like it's solidified his, like the curl of his lip, like the insouciant, like nostril flare. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but like I really get into drawing Metron in all his weirdness. Yeah, I love it.
And you know, this is the magic of collaboration, right? Like I feel like he's my best written character in the entire story. Partly also because people always say that in these large ensemble books, there's always one character that's actually just the author. So if you look at Game of Thrones, you know, Tyrion Lannister is actually just R.R. Martin on some level. And so
Cersei Lannister is George R.R. Martin.
So Metron on some level is actually just me.
So that's why you're just working weird, smiling weird, speaking weird with people.
I sit on a chair.
That's where it came from.
Suspiciously,
You're suspiciously, not weird.
and I manipulate the lives of all of the characters in my stories. What else is there?
When things go right, he takes the credit. When things go wrong, it's also part of the plan.
It's yeah, exactly. It's just a universe.
Yeah. And since you just use your force of persuasion to just have artists working with
Correct.
you, I guess it just
I go to their beds when they're sleeping at night, and I draw little omega symbols on there.
He's like, I have a prophecy.
Yeah.
Your career is going to go nowhere if you don't do this.
You know, this makes me sound like Ben Kingsley from Sexy Beast. He's like, no, Ram, I can't draw your New Gods book. Yes, Ram, I will draw your New Gods book.
Pistol whipping.
Okay, so how long is it? So I'm not up to date with the English publication. I'm sorry for that, but is it going to last? Is it going to be a very long book, or do you have an ending planned? As far as you are concerned, maybe the book will continue afterwards. But what's for you guys? What's the plan?
As of now, we've hit 12 issues and we pause. And I have story ideas that go on for years after, but I think also it is medically irresponsible for us to continue on a monthly schedule.
Breaks must be taken.
Making this book. So yeah, I'm also like I was 36 when I started making comics. I am now 43 and I've got a kid and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, maybe staying up at 3 a.m. every day working on a script is not great. So we take a pause. We go do some other stuff that doesn't necessarily have that time constraint. But also, you know, maybe the book continues down the line a few months later after a pause. We shall see.
Okay. And for you, do you wish to keep continuing on a monthly single issues or so?
No, that's the point of a break.
Yeah.
That's
what I.
No, I'm looking forward to.
We even take breaks in collaboration.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to starting a sketchbook again, and you know, doing things that don't have a deadline attached to them.
Yeah, fuck the deadlines.
Sorry, you definitely have to edit that part out.
Should I? It's my podcast, and you didn't corroborate, so I think you're okay, guys. I'm not a writer, so I can say that. But thank you so much for your time, Ram,
pleasure.
Evan. It's been a pleasure, and I hope we'll discuss with other stuff later. Bye.